We're going to kick it right off with the first talk. I want to immediately ask the first speakers on stage for the first talk. So it'll be John Nguyen and James Woods. We're going to talk about game commerce. The elephant in the room that devs are not always thinking about. So, all right, guys, when you're ready, take it away.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
I thought this was about whales, not elephants.
No, elephants, definitely elephants.
Okay.
Especially the big ones in this room. So, hi everyone. My name is John. I am the Senior Business Manager for Canada for Xsolla. Basically, part of what we do is to show you guys that, hey, we're here to help developers create something really interesting, which is elephants.
Or whales.
Or whales. James, maybe you can introduce yourself, and I'll introduce myself a little bit more about my background.
Cool. I'm James Woods. I'm CEO of BootJet Games. Previous to that, I was CTO of Boat Rocker Media, who was a large producer of TV IP like Orphan Black, and I led their IP division for game building. And broke that off into BootJet Games and working with guys like John at Xsolla to figure out how to make whales.
So basically, for my part, I started in the game industry about 12 years ago. A small indie developer, basically mod group. We grew up to about 40 out in the Maritimes. Been basically biz dev, marketing, doing publishing as well, and now I'm with Xsolla. So with that going ahead, we're going to talk about what the elephants. Can you just skip a couple of slides, please? Just go for the next one. So basically what Xsolla is, we are a global provider of e-commerce solutions. So our solutions are basically used to build funnels for developers. And things are really changing interestingly, thank you, for the space, because there has been basically, I'll just go ahead and skip ahead just a little bit. Yeah, there you go. Thank you. So what is the elephant, basically? So everybody talks about marketing, and everybody talks about commerce, revenue. So the middle thing is, before you can get to revenue, it's commerce. And James has a huge background in actual e-commerce himself, so maybe you can talk a little bit about this slide here. Talk about the elephant yourself and your whales.
Thanks for that pitch. So when we built games based on IP, like Orphan Black, we thought about the audience and how to, and this is a very sensitive audience within a very specific community, and a lot of the conversations that we had internally were, how do you build commerce to this community without offending that community? And I think a lot of developers come up with the easy answers, which is microtransactions, loot crates, and they go to the easy out, which is in-app purchases with the big, 30% cut players. And what we started to do is reach out to other people that are more, or other companies like Xsolla, who are more seamless in the way that you do those transactions. And they gave us a lot of options to be able to make those transactions happen with keeping a larger percent of that revenue, which made us really happy.
So basically, it's more than just like, hey, let's develop an app and let's just throw it onto a store of some kind and just pray to the algo gods and let's go, right? We're going to make a huge success out of that. It's much more involved with that. You actually plan out your infrastructure. You have to plan out how people are being acquired, how they move through your funnel, and eventually how you convert them into revenue. So this is why there's this huge gap in most devs' knowledge about how do you get from spending money into marketing and how do you get it to revenue. So why is this important? Well, the business landscape is changing for you guys, for everyone here. So basically, what are some of the challenges that are happening, right? So basically, there's a decline in profit margin when you're using some of the larger app stores, right? Or platforms, distribution platforms. You're basically giving away 30% right off the bat. And we're not even counting like if you're working with a publisher. So you who made the game are basically giving away the lion's share of money that you are rightfully entitled to. Furthermore, your games are getting noticed. How many games are being released every day? Right? How many games are there? Beautiful games in themselves. Sure, there's a ton of shovelware. Let's talk about that, right? But How many beautiful other games that are there, quality games that are competing for your space, right? Maybe you have a
beyond the Orphan Black space, this is where John and I really started to get into some interesting conversations. We also do hyper-casual games. And this is probably more prevalent than you would think, is people think just to go to the app stores for the hyper-casual space. And there are other options that, and that's the elephant to me, is that don't make those microtransactions, those in-app purchases. Just go to another provider. And you don't have to be Epic, or you don't have to be Jason Fried or DHH to go battle these guys. You could just find another partner. It doesn't even have to be these nice folks. But
yeah, and then the other challenge is the IDFA creating new challenges. So basically now you're not getting even visibility into what you're doing with your marketing money. How do you determine ROI? How do you determine attributability? How do you determine that the $200,000 that you just put into a marketing black hole is going to generate sales for you? You don't. You don't have visibility on that. So you need to be able to control your funnel through that. And then obviously scaling as well. So basically what changed? This changed. So before I go deeply into this, I'm going to make a lawyer joke because I actually have a law degree. And basically this is not legal advice. I am not an attorney. Do your own research. But we are going to talk about this, and this actually created some opportunities for you guys, right? So basically, as a mobile developer now, you can process mobile game sales. There are tools out there to do this. There are tools to market directly to the consumer, and there are tools to take back control of your UA and UX of your online payments and of your payment flow. So this is the missing component to it. James, maybe you can talk about some of the why is this important to you from your perspective?
Well, it's about control. Ultimately, typically, you just put your game on the App Store, you get your transactions, you give up your 30 or now 15% if you're small enough. Now I have the tools to be able to do more, create lists, and it's all within one platform, which I really love. And what's asked of me is very little in terms of what I give up for the tools, so it's a good deal.
So just going to go in, James. So now we know that there's an opportunity, right? So how do you do this? Like, why should you actually control your funnel, right? You said it was mentioning it was control, and it's basically from point A to point B of getting your money. You have now basically increase your revenue. And by the way, Xsolla has 700 payment methods globally. So what does this actually mean? This means that we have several times, orders of magnitude more payment methods, ways to pay than your traditional platforms. And I don't know if you guys know this, but there's like a third of the population that is actually unbanked, meaning global population, meaning these people don't have bank accounts. And it could be for any reason, social, economic, right? And it's not because they don't have revenue or money or they're poor. It's just basically because they can't have a bank account. If you can't have a bank account, you can't get a credit card. If you can't get a credit card, you can't pay, right? And I think you experienced this yourself.
So for a game that I made, and I don't want to point out any particular community, but it had a global audience within a specific community where that community can't come out, and they can engage with our game through methods because they're unbanked.
So basically, you were seeing active users out of these regions of the world, and yet never see a cent from them. So that's one of the things that we did that is changing in this world, because you now have the ability to actually, by using us actually, you have now the ability to actually tap these markets and use payment methods that these guys are using.
Yeah, that's great.
So how do you embrace the change, right? So basically, here are some of the solutions how you can get around and build up secondary funnels and increase your distribution. We have a number of partners that actually are setting up web stores. So basically, these are browser-based stores that are selling microtransactions or whatever they're selling in-app on a secondary funnel. This is something you're planning for your games as well, at BootJet?
That's what you've got us for 2023 for. I haven't played with this specifically, but I've gone through the possibilities of this, and I'm pretty excited by it. So I feel like you're Vanna White right now.
I'm Vanna White. Is it because I'm like touching you?
No.
And I'm doing this. So web stores, like if you basically do, this is what the flow would look like, and it's like you can actually create this flow yourself, and you're actually doing it yourself, right? So basically you're accessing a login system. You're basically going in and you are identifying your players. So you now have 360-degree viewpoints on what your player base is doing and what your acquisition is doing. You also have a mailing list now. So you can actually be marketing directly to it. And you're making in-game purchases and subscriptions as well. And you're taking advantage of a way wider payment method.
With less
elephants.
Yeah.
Whales. And whales. There's also other studios that are actually making PC versions of their mobile games or web-based. So basically they're going the cross-platform play. And they are able to, again, reach new audiences and grow their market. And basically using our solutions to actually create this seamless transition between the two methods and monetizing them on both. Are you planning to use something like that for your hyper-casual games? I mean,
it's something I've thought about. All right, I'm going to mention somebody's name.
Go ahead.
Albert Lai.
Okay.
Albert, Big Viking Games, known the guy for a lot of years, and he just recently came out with something that I feel is a missing piece of what Xsolla offers and what he envisions.
Okay.
Talking about the big Epic versus Apple dichotomy, and it's bypassing the whole Apple ecosystem completely, even to play the game, and Android. And please buy them.
What did your mistress buy?
It's the company that they just founded is called Parallels. If you haven't checked it out, you should. It's really exciting. I can't wait to distribute my games on that platform.
Tell us more about it, why don't you?
Well, I'm not paid by them, so.
You're not paid by me either. So we have the tools and services to help accelerate your game globally. So it's basically, these are the tools that are allowing you as a developer to actually create these funnels. Yeah, use the platforms, but at the same time, kind of break free from that, right? And actually could be able to not only understand what you're doing with your marketing money, but you're also understanding how you can move them in, create your own funnels, and actually monetize in regions that you normally would not be able to reach in.
So having extra money to put back into your flywheel, into your UA machine, is what I love, obviously. It just increases the snowball. So that's the advantage. That's the elephant that I feel that not enough devs are thinking about. They're going too traditional with the easy way, and it's not necessarily that easy. Or it's not that hard to go to another solution, I should say.
No, it's not that hard, and that's it's not thinking about it that is actually the detriment here, right? It's actually being able to utilize these tools that exist. As an indie myself, when I was doing my games and we were doing it on Steam, right? It was a PC build, and I was like, we had nothing like this, right? There was no way to do it, right? And these tools work for any platform, right? So having this already, we could have, changed the course of our studio radically, and not be confronted by,
It also allows you to make more mistakes and to experiment a little bit more, since you do have, the extra percentage of capital to do so. To Apple and Google's credit, when they were forced ultimately to go from 30 to 15% for smaller studios. This gives you even more, right?
Right, and you can definitely do A/B testing. Traditional.
You guys are doing 0.5%? No.
You know what? No, it's 5%. 5% transaction. But on further than that, like because we give you the tools to do this, you can create your own landing pages, you can create your own stores. So basically, you are filtering out being buried by thousands of games being released a day. You basically have a captive audience. Here's the game. Here's the thing you're doing, right? And you're basically seeing it through so that you don't have a drop off in your funnel when they see you may also like this, right? And so if you see that, then you're just dropping it out, right?
Now, the one challenge I will say, to prove that I'm not a paid Vanaway.
A paid show?
The one challenge that you can overcome off the bat is the trust factor. When you do a UA campaign, it goes to an ad, they click on the ad, it takes them to the store that they trust, Apple or Google. In this case, it's another store. Hopefully your marketing's strong enough and your efforts are good enough and your creatives that they will lay out a credit card. You don't have that embedded credit card on a first-time lander, so you just have to nail that conversion. But still part of the machine. You're still part of a different flywheel.
But you also mentioned when we met that you actually want to use these infrastructure for your next game and the one after that. So basically what you're planning is long-term future-proofing. You're telling me that you were basically saying, hey, you know what? Audiences that are bought from you are 30% more likely to buy again, right? And so you're basically creating this community and you're understanding nearly 100% of what they're doing, right? You're sending them emails, you're nurturing them, you're building them, and you're building that trust with your brand and your game so that later on you can sell to them again and again and again, right? It's not a restart. Here's a new app. Let's go, right?
That's it. I mean, that's where the Epics and the Haze.com inspired the smaller indies. He said, we can never fight against the big guys. This gives us the tools to be able to do that. And basically build your own, flotation device to see if you can get out there into the big ocean and make it based on your branding and your great game and build your audience.